Okay, let's talk about one of those real estate terms that just sounds weird. The alienation clause. I know, it sounds like it belongs in a sci-fi movie, not your mortgage papers. If that word makes you think more about spaceships than selling your house, you're in the right place, because we are about to make this super simple.
I mean, seriously, what's the first thing that pops into your head when you hear alienation clause? For most of us, it's something from another planet. So what on earth does any of that have to do with your mortgage?
And the answer is, drumroll please, absolutely nothing, not a single thing. And that common mix-up is exactly why this term seems so much more complicated than it really is. So let's clear it up right now.
All right, first things first, let's tackle the word itself and get that whole outer space image out of our heads for good.
You know, it's completely normal for your brain to jump to little green men or maybe feelings of isolation or being left out when you hear a word like alienation. That's just a common mental trap.
But here's the really good news. In the world of property, in the world of law, alienation has a very, very specific and much simpler meaning.
So let's get right to the core of it. What does alienate actually mean when you see it in a mortgage contract?
Okay, here it is. This is the simple definition that unlocks everything. In legal language, to alienate simply means to transfer ownership from one person to another. That's it. No aliens, no drama. So if you remember one thing today, let it be this simple little equation. Alienation equals transfer. Seriously, if you just burn that into your brain, you've pretty much mastered the whole concept. And this simple little comic boils the entire thing down perfectly. The homeowner says, hey, I'm transferring the house. And the lender says, awesome, no problem. Just pay off the loan first. That right there, that conversation is the entire logic of the clause in a nutshell.
Okay, but why? Why does the lender care so much? Why can't you just let the loan travel with the house to the new owner?
Well, let's put ourselves in their shoes for a minute. The very first thing you have to understand is that this isn't personal. It's not an emotional thing for the lender. For them, it all boils down to one simple concept: managing their financial risk. I mean, think about it. When you got that loan, the bank based the entire deal on your specific financial picture. They looked at your credit score, your income, the interest rates at that exact moment in time, and, of course, the house itself as collateral. They approved you, not some random person down the line. So the lender's logic is pretty straightforward. If the person we loaned money to is changing, then the original deal is off the table. We need to reset, right? The new owner might have terrible credit, or interest rates could be way higher. The lender has to protect their investment. So we know what it is, we know why it exists. Now, let's look at the mechanics. How does this clause actually work in a real-world transaction? It's really just a simple three-step chain reaction. First, you sell the property or transfer the title. Second, that action immediately triggers the alienation clause in your mortgage. And third, the lender can then demand that the entire remaining loan balance be paid right away. And this little graphic shows that flow perfectly. The transfer of the deed is the domino that falls, which directly leads to the next domino, the requirement to pay off the loan. Simple cause and effect. Now, this is a super important point of confusion, especially for anyone studying for their real estate exam. Does this clause mean you're actually forbidden from selling your home, or does it just mean that when you sell, that sale triggers the loan payoff? And here is the correct way to think about it. The clause doesn't stop you from selling. Of course you can sell your house. All it says is that when you sell, the lender can require the loan to be paid in full. In fact, that's why it's often called the due on sale clause. Make sense, right? All right, final section, and this one is huge for anyone hitting the books for an exam. There's another clause that sounds kind of similar, and it is so easy to mix them up. So let's make sure that never happens to you. The two troublemakers are the alienation clause and the acceleration clause. And here's why people get confused. Both of them can result in the lender demanding the full loan balance right now. But the key, the absolute key, is that they are triggered by completely different events. And here is that key difference in a nutshell. The alienation clause, which we now know is also the due on sale clause, is triggered by the transfer or sale of the property. The acceleration clause, on the other hand, is triggered by default, like if you miss a bunch of payments. One happens during a normal sale, the other happens when you break the rules. So think of this as your exam day cheat sheet. If you see a question with keywords like sale, transfer, or due on sale, your brain should immediately go to alienation clause. But if you see words like default, missed payments, or breach of contract, you're looking at the acceleration clause. Okay, let's do a quick final check. This is worded just like a question you'd see on a test. A homeowner transfers title without paying off the mortgage. The lender demands immediate repayment. What clause allows this? Take a second. It's the alienation clause, of course. Why? Because the key phrase was transfers title. If you got that, you've totally got this. See? It's not about outer space at all. It's just about paying off the loan when you transfer the property. You've got it.